Hello everybody. I am talking about reincarnation today, and there are lots of folks out there who believe in it. There are some really famous people who believe in it. A list of them includes Ben Franklin, Carl Jung, Gandhi, of course Gandhi would, right, being Indian, Henry Ford, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Dr. Ian Stevenson, and he is the man who wrote, I think, 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation, did an extremely thorough job of interviewing children in India who talked about previous lifetimes and pretty much nailed down all of the facts that made it clear that they had been those people. Voltaire, General George Patton, U.S., George Harrison, the Beatle, Balzac, the French playwright, Hermann Hesse, he's a German poet, and then of course Khalil Gibran, to name just a few. And when most people think about reincarnation, they assume that they have had illustrious, wonderful, marvelous, fancy, rich, beautiful lives. And I'm sure we all have had those. But when we go looking for them, we may not find the ones that were so charming and easy and beautiful. We may instead find those that shock and horrify us. So when you really want to explore other lifetimes, ask yourself why it's important to you and what you hope to achieve. Because if you stumble upon or are led intentionally towards a lifetime that will shock you, it may be very difficult for you going forward from that. So be advised. Okay, so in my own life, I have seen I believe four fairly clearly, and they all happened in different ways. And the first one that came to me was actually Fritz, the plenipotentiary of labor in Hitler's cabinet. And that's a really difficult one for me to carry and think about and feel. But it's useful because it's preventing my going completely off the deep end these days in terms of what the far right is orchestrating and doing. Because I can recognize the fact that at one point, not too long ago, I was part of the far right in Germany. So I'm seeing this and having to relate to people I really don't like now, in terms of they act as a mirror for me. And that lifetime was made known to me under nitrous oxide at the dentist, which is, I think, a very unusual way of coming by an awakening. But that's what happened to me when I was almost 30. I had a series of experiences under nitrous oxide, all at the dentist while getting dental work done, that told me about reincarnation being real, and I fought that idea. I just really fought it tooth and nail. I did not want to know about it, and probably because not too deep inside me was the knowledge of what had been, and I didn't really want to awaken that. And who would want to awaken such a thing, right? Who wants to find out that they were Attila the Hun in a previous life? I'm sure you would rather have been a pope or a saint, at least a noble human being, a king, instead of a courtier. But that life was the hardest for me to find out about. And then there was a life in France, and for that one I had gone to Houston, and Richard Sutpen, he died in 2020, I think. He was a master hypnotist, and he published books in the 70s, I believe. You Were Born Again to Be Together, I think, is one of them. Very, very good hypnotist. He was so thorough and able to really help people. He would go into prisons and teach prisoners self-hypnosis. And so he did a lot of good on the planet while he was in the physical. And in 1982, I guess, I went to Houston, where he had an entire ballroom of us. I think there must have been 100 of us in that ballroom. He was taking us all down as a group, And he had said to us, before we get started, I'm going to suggest to you that you land on an easy lifetime, one that didn't have too much trauma, because I can't take care of 100 of you if you land on traumatic lifetimes. So that was a suggestion, and I had specifically wanted to really know, why am I moving from pillar to post like a gypsy in this life? I mean, I had lived in 3 different countries, 8 different states by then, and I was like, what is going on here? Why am I moving around so much? What is happening? And so I really went to Houston to that hypnosis session wanting to know why. And so Dick Sutphin regressed all of us. And it was really, really fascinating for me. I mean, he told us to look at our feet and see what kind of shoes we had on. And I had some kind of medieval clodhoppers. And then he had us come up with the year, one number at a time, and I landed in 11 something, and I ended up in France as a girl, and she was about to get married off. She had no say in this matter whatsoever at all. She was 15, her husband was 35, I think. Anyway, she was married off to him. She quickly had three sons by him. He was a very well-to-do farmer, and he died by the time he was 40, so he wasn't around very long. And she basically then ran the farm with help until her sons were old enough to work the farm for her. And she had an amazing life. She never wanted to leave the property. The land was 100 or more acres, and she loved gardening. She did tapestries, and she loved the family. She was so at peace. I mean, she didn't have to go someplace to go find herself. Her name was Marie, and so I maybe acquired her love of gardens and gardening and flowers from her. I'm not sure. Certainly some aspects of art go with her, and I absolutely adore France. I mean, that is probably the country on the planet that I most align with. I get off a plane, and I just get happy. I'm just happy the whole time I'm in France, even when not such great things happen. But like in 2000, I think it was, somebody stole my wallet out of my pocketbook when we had just landed and were about to get on the train. And so that should have spoiled my vacation somewhat, but it actually didn't, because I'm a Francophile. Then another lifetime, it happened spontaneously. I was at the kitchen sink in Bouty, around New Orleans, 1982 also, and washing dishes. And I'm looking out, and the dragonflies are buzzing along. It's kind of humid out there. And all of a sudden, I am this 9-year-old boy on a roof in London around the time of Queen Victoria's coronation. And I can feel his knees on the slate roof. I can smell the pungency of the air. I can hear the music of the Queen's procession coming down the road towards me. And this kid, he was so excited. I mean, it was so real for me being that 9-year-old boy on that roof. But it lasted no more than 45 seconds. It was boom, and then it was gone. And I never saw that child's life again, so I don't know whether he fell off the roof that day. That might have been, that might have been the end of his life. I might have seen his last day. And in any event, Fritz is born in 93 or 95. So the kid in London may not have lived very long. So those are some of my memories of other lifetimes. Then there's one other that Dick Sutphin took me through. And that was to do with Montségur in France. I have kind of had a very unpleasant feeling about the Catholic Church for a really long time. It may have started in this life when the priest at the church told me to go home and change. I was 12, we lived in Canada, it was freezing cold, there was snow and ice, the wind was blowing. I had come wearing pants. Go home and change, little girl. You're not allowed in this building. He went on and on about it. So I did. I went home and I changed, but into an atheist. I just never went back to church after that. I'd had enough. So imagine, being an atheist and having these experiences then of seeing your body as pure energy and seeing yourself in other lifetimes. It was very startling for me. But with respect to Montségur, I had been given the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail in 1983, I think, and I didn't know why this friend had selected this book for me. I wasn't particularly interested in the Knights Templar or what happened, whether they sacked Jerusalem or, what kind of secret codes they use. I mean, it just wasn't something I cared about. But when I got to a place, they were talking about the Albigensian Crusade. And as I started to read that part of the book, I got really nauseous. I got really ill. And I put the book aside. When I felt okay again, I flipped through the book, and in the back, they had various photographs. Now, I had tried to imagine what this place, Montségur, the castle that was the last stronghold for the Albigensians, was like, as the Catholic Church was surrounding the base of the mountain, and they were going to kill every man, woman, and child up there who was an Albigensian, because they were really a threat to the Catholic religion in those days. Anyway, the people up on top asked for some extra time, and then on March 16th, their time was up, and they were brought down the hill and thrown into this open flame, because they had decided that they would rather die of fire than actually turn into a Catholic. I mean, they were that strong, they were that convinced about what they really needed and wanted. They were people of principle. But it turned out that I was a child during this time, and I was a child of one of the Albigensian couples. So the Catholics didn't throw the children into the bonfire, only the parents. So the children got to see their parents roasted alive. And this little girl, apparently, she was never quite right after that. And she lived in these goat sheds around Montségur for the rest of her not very long life. So those are the lifetimes that I am familiar with right now, and I know that there are others because of my likes and dislikes and inclinations. If you pay attention to them, you will be guided towards your other selves. Anyway, I have not seen myself as Marie Antoinette, which I guess is a good thing, but I haven't seen myself as Joan of Arc either. So before you go looking for your other selves, you better be sure that you can handle those that are not so commendable, or you have not been such a wonderful human being, because they're out there. Sorry to say that. Okay, take care.